Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am located at 1563 Main Street in beautiful Peckville, Pennsylvania. And I am right here with you on Bigfoot Country every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. to bring you, the landowner, the information you need regarding natural gas development. And, of course, and as always, I, Doug Clark, the Clark Law Firm, has not, does not, and will never represent gas or pipeline companies. I represent the Pennsylvania landowner, royalty owner for such items as gas leases, gas lease negotiations, reviews, consultations, pipeline, water line agreements, royalty and royalty deduction issues, litigation issues, breach of contract issues, estate planning when you're dealing with oil and gas rights, buying and selling oil and gas rights, unitization issues. Are you properly unitized? Acreage issues related to unitization, meter sites, compressor sites, you name it. Essentially any and all representation relating to and involving oil and gas development here in Pennsylvania. So if you're in need of representation, you want to learn more about what I do, what the Clark Law Firm does, here's what I recommend. First off, you can always give us a call, 570-307-0702. That's 570-307-0702. You can also, and you should be doing this, go check out pagasleaseattorney.com. So I have two websites, pagasleaseattorney.com and pipelineattorney.com. And I want to say that second one again. It's pretty simple, pipelineattorney.com. If you are presented with a pipeline agreement, if you have one now, if you think you may be presented with one, go check out pipelineattorney.com. There is a lot of great information available on the pipeline site and also the gas lease site. Again, none of the information on the sites or in the radio show is specific advice for anybody. But the radio show, I sure as heck hope, has a lot of information on here that's going to get you thinking, what things to watch out for, where you need to make sure that you're going to be getting protection, and to talk to somebody, whether it be me, and I hope it's me, because I want to help as many people as I possibly can. But if it's not me, let's make sure that you are getting specific legal advice before you sign any of these contracts, major commercial contracts that literally may last more than a century, and literally maybe even more than 2 centuries. So we need to make sure that we're getting you this information, that you're taking advantage of the information that's available, and that you're not getting taken advantage of by the gas or pipeline company. These are your assets. They are your properties. They're your oil and gas rights. You need to maximize the compensation that you're going to get both today and into the future for any type of an agreement. And you also need to make sure that you're maximizing the protections for your property. And you do that by minimizing the flexibility that the company has and minimizing the authority and the power that the company has when you sign an agreement. And let me clue you in on something. When these companies present agreements to you, they present them so that they have a lot of rights and authority both today and into the future. And there's a really good chance that the person sitting at the table talking to you about that agreement is not telling you what you really need to know. And I say really good chance. To me, it's pretty much a guaranteed chance, but that's my opinion. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So I'm saying again, check out the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com, and want to encourage everybody, regardless of your location, if the property or oil and gas rights are in Pennsylvania, give us a call. See if we can help you. I say often, if I don't think that I can help you, the first thing that I'm going to say to you is, hey, I'm not going to be able to help you here. The other thing is if I feel that your distance from my office is an obstacle, I will say to you, hey, look, in this case, you're going to probably be better served with somebody more local. But I'm going to tell you the truth. Rarely, I'm always going to tell you the truth, by the way, but rarely does the circumstance exist where I say to a potential client or a client, hey, look, due to your distance away from my office, I think this may be a problem in representation. And I love to say it. Look, I had a client in Micronesia. I had to look on the globe where it was. Clients who reside in Canada, London, other countries. And another thing I want to make sure that I point out as well, regardless of your acreage, I just did a review and consultation with a client this week at 2.5 acres. Actually, it was I won't get too specific, but less than 2.5 acres. So regardless of your acres, I have clients with thousands upon thousands of acreage, and I have clients with 1 acre. I've represented clients with less than an acre. And again, my goal is to help the client. My goal is not to say, oh, how can I bill this client? My goal is to say, hey, can I provide a service to this client that's going to justify any bill that they ever get from me? And if I don't think I can do that, I will never take that type of a case. I won't do it. And I've said it to people and I've explained it to people. I won't do it. I will never take a case if I don't think I can help that client out and I can help him out at a reasonable cost. I won't do it. So I really want to hear from you if we can help you out. Love to. You hear me talk about reviews and consultations. I do them all the time. It's a great first step. Many people say, well, I don't need an attorney. I haven't had an attorney. Why would I need to get an attorney? Again, this review and consultation, I promise you, is not a sales job. What it is we go through. If you have a gas lease, I answer your questions. I tell you what you need to know. I tell you where your lease is strong, where it's weak. I tell you what the market is to the best of my knowledge wherever this lease is. And I have clients in most, and have represented recently clients in most gas producing areas in Pennsylvania. So we can tell you, hey, what's the market in this area? Generally speaking, I can tell you that in most cases. We'll just put it that way. Also, where is your agreement weak? Where is it strong? Think about this one. I talked about pipeline agreements. And I haven't done a pipeline show in a while, so I'll have to do one of those soon. But pipelines, I have reviewed, consulted on, negotiated, and represented people in Pennsylvania, engaged with pipeline agreements with over 70 different companies in Pennsylvania. 70 different companies. So that gives you an idea of the experience. And I often say this, and it's not because of saying, oh, hey, I'm so great, I'm so cool, hurry up, hire me. I'm saying that that's the type of experience and information that's available. And if you have a pipeline right-of-way agreement that you're considering, how a review consultation process works, you give us a call, 570-307-0702. We walk you through the process and say, hey, if you want to do it, great, here we are. You send me the agreement, any other relevant documentation, usually the gas lease. I read it, I review it, I study it, I'm extremely prepared, and then we either have an in-office meeting or we do it by telephone. And I do many of these by telephone, and typically, beginning to end, the whole process takes less than 2 hours. 2 hours or less typically. So as I say pretty much every week, I really encourage you, give us a call, learn about reviews and consultations. It is a great first step. And the worst thing that can happen, you get your questions answered. You hear from me, a guy who's doing this every day, what I think is good and bad in the agreement, where I think you might be able to change it, what I think about the market price, what I think about your leverage and your ability to negotiate. And we can do that typically in less than 2 hours. So I encourage you, give us a call, learn about that service, whether it's leases, pipeline agreements, any written contract of any kind, 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. And keep listening to All Things Marcellus with me each and every week at this time on this station. All right. With that all said, let's have some fun. So here's what I want to do today. I'm going to walk you through an interaction with a company. So here it is. So client calls and they do a review and consultation. During this, in this case, involved a lease, a gas lease amendment, modification, ratification. I cannot possibly stress it enough. If you are requested to sign an amendment, modification, ratification, any of those words, and the R word is really scary, if you are asked to sign an amendment of your gas lease or pipeline or any agreement, a modification of any agreement, or a ratification of any agreement, or any combination of those three things, put the pen down and pick up the phone. Do not, this is general advice. How's that? General advice. Don't sign it. Stop signing these things. Put down the pen, pick up the phone. I'd love for you to call me. We'll do a review and consultation. We'll break it down. We'll find out what it means, what's good, what's bad. And if it's in your best interest, well, that's what I'm here for. To tell you, hey, this is in your best interest. This is great. Go ahead and do it. Or, hey, there's some problems here. Or there's some other issues here. Or maybe, you know what? This lease is expired. And this is a backdoor way, in my opinion, to try to revive an expired lease. And you may be in a position of great leverage that you have no idea about. And it's happened. It's happened many times where you may be able to get a new lease. You may be able to get a new lease at 15, 16, 17%, depending upon your circumstance, You may be able to get a new lease for $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 or more dollars per acre. And you need to find these things out before you just simply sign. Again, stop signing, get information. And that's why I preach the frustration of I don't want to see anyone taken advantage of. And it's happening time and time again. And that's why I promote these reviews and consultations so much, because we can stop that. A review and consultation can stop that. And I'm telling you that they generally take 2 hours or less. And you're not going to get, we'll say, taken advantage of. And we got to stop that. So this client gets a review, an amendment, a modification, ratification. They call the office at 570-307-0702. They find out about the review service, the review and consultation. So what do? They email me, mail me, fax me, whatever the case may be, their gas lease and the proposed amendment and modification. I do the necessary work on my end to read these documents, understand it, and see what's going on. And I can pretty much tell, in most cases, what's going on. Look at drilling records. Look at whatever we need to that's relevant to evaluate the amendment, modification, and ratification that's in front of you. Then we either have a meeting in the office, and I love when people come to the office, but we also do them by telephone all the time. So we get on the phone, and we have the documents in front of us, and we go through them. So in this case, again, review and consultation of a lease amendment, modification, and ratification. So we get on the phone. I say, well, there are some very interesting things here. And in this particular case, and this is an unusual case, but in this particular case, the underlying gas lease requires the company at issue to drill 3 more wells before, we'll say, the end of 2019. We know that the company is not going to end up doing that they're just not going to be able to do that. They're not planning on doing it, and they're not going to do it. So the person is given an amendment and modification to do what? Shocking. Eliminate the obligation to drill additional wells. So they say to the person, hey, we'll give you this amendment and modification and ratification. And what we're going to do, we're asking you also to increase the maximum unit size, the size of a development unit, from a maximum of 640 acres all the way up to 1,200 acres. That's one part of it. Oh, and also in there, because you may not understand your lease and the obligations the company has, what also is in there is the elimination of the company's obligation to drill 3 more wells by the end of 2019. That's in there too. Probably not something that the landman who works for the company, not you, the landowner, is focusing on. They're not. What are they focusing on? Well, we're now drilling these longer wells. We're going out 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 feet. And these wells are much more productive, and it's lowered our cost of drilling. So with these longer wells, we don't need to spend as much money as in drilling. We can make more money even with the price of gas being at a lower price per MCF in the market. Oh, and here's another great benefit for everybody. We don't need, as a company, as many well pads with these much longer wells than we do if we're drilling them shorter. So, wow, isn't this great for you, landowner? Well, look, hey, none of those things are necessarily bad for you as the landowner. Now, maybe if you have the pad on your property, it's not ideal, but, yeah, okay, those sound good. Yeah, I don't want to see pads everywhere. I'd like to see more drilling. Sure, these things sound pretty good. And then you say, well, here's what we're planning too, landowner. You think that sounds good? We're planning on creating a new unit that's going to be much longer, and we're going to drill 3 more wells into that unit. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to develop your property from a different pad site really far away from your property. So again, you may say, okay, well, that sounds all right. That sounds good. But I'll tell you what, never, ever forget that if the company has to drill less wells and they can drill them longer, and so they're more cost effective, if they have to design and build less pads, well, and then their profit margins are higher because the cost of drilling and the amount of pads and all those are reduced. Well, they're going to make a lot of money too. They're going to make a lot of money too, and a lot more than you are. So, it is a reasonable question to say, hey, Mr. Landman, who works for the company, not me, the landowner, what am I getting out of this? What am I getting out of this? And the company says, well, these wells are going to be great. We're going to drill more wells. We're going to drill them more quickly. This is going to be great for you. Okay, I heard that. But what do I get out of this? What are you offering me? Are you giving me an increase of royalty percent? Are you giving me any type of cash payment? You're going to make a bunch of money. And by the way, I signed this lease that you're asking me to change. You're asking me to amend, modify. I signed that. You also signed it. You also entered into this agreement. So you're now coming to me saying, hey, we want you to change this agreement because it's going to be really good for you. Well, no, it's going to be really good for you also. So why do you as a company get to come back to me to say, oh, hey, we want to change this lease because it's going to be really good for everybody, so we want to change this lease? When again, it's going to be better for them than it is for you in virtually all cases. So, how about this concept, company? Well, I don't like, I thought I was getting royalty without deductions. I thought that you couldn't run these certain types of pipelines on my property because that's what I was told and that's what I understood when I signed my lease. But now it seems like you can do these things, or you're doing them, or that you have the ability to take deductions. So how about we do this, company? You know what? I would like to amend my lease with you so you won't take deductions, so that you won't touch the surface of my property, so that you won't create a well pad and access road that's 25 acres of my property. I'd like to change my lease to benefit me. Well, let's just say don't expect much of a response there, but go ahead and ask. You want to have a good time, go ahead and ask. And then just take a note, just take a mental note of the landman's face when you ask him that question. So, okay, we're coming up against the first segment here. So we're going to reset in the second, but I look forward to this. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to explain this process and what my experience was here. And I think this is I think a lot of you are going to find, I've heard and I've seen what he's talking about. I've seen that happen to me in the past. So we're going to continue on this path. I'll be right back. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, I do not, if you can't tell, I do not, I have not, and I will not ever represent a gas or pipeline company. I'm here for the Pennsylvania landowner, and I hope to hear from you. Give me a call. See if I can help you. 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. Keep listening to All Things Marcellus at this time on this station. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Give us a call, learn about reviews, consultations, other services, any and all representation related to oil and gas matters. 570-307-0702. Regardless of location, regardless of acreage, give us a call, see if we can help, and keep checking out the websites. pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Use them as a resource of general information. They're not specific advice, but I'll tell you this, in case you didn't know this, I've been doing this radio show since 2010. Since 2010, I've been doing All Things Marcellus. We have hours and 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 more hours of the radio show available on the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com, and each weekend show we post on Monday morning, so you can go back, listen to it anytime at your leisure, whether it's pipelines, regardless of whatever the issue is, unitization, royalties, leasing, negotiation, leverage, buying, selling gas rights, estate planning. Go check out the websites. There's going to be something there for you. So check it out and get some information. So, all right, let's reset. Let's go back to our scenario. Let me start quickly at the beginning, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. So here's the scenario. Client gets an amendment and modification of a gas lease sent to them. They've heard the show. They know, hey, I'm going to call this guy and see, if I think he can help me. So they call, and they end up setting up a review and consultation. Send me their gas lease, send me the amendment and modification. I review it all in preparation for our call in this case. And when I go through this, I say, wow, okay, I see what's going on here. And so just again, to reset, the original lease required that the company would have to drill 3 more wells by the end of 2019. However, the company is asking the person to modify a lease so that they don't have to drill those 3 wells. And they're also asking to increase the size of a production unit because the original gas lease said the largest production unit that you can include my property in is 640 acres. However, we would like to increase that to 1,200 acres. Now, without going too deep into the weeds, the way this is presented, it's certainly not highlighted that, oh, hey, landowner, by signing this, you now relieve us of our obligation to drill 3 more wells in the year 2019. That's not something high on the list of the landman's discussion, because remember, you as the landowner entered into a lease, whether it was negotiated or however you got it. You had a lease that you signed that required 3 wells being drilled by the end of 2019. So if the company now doesn't want to drill those wells, and what are you going to say? Oh, sure, okay, no problem. Well, why did you negotiate that, or why did you enter into that type of lease? I'm going to tell you, that's a really beneficial term to have in your lease. So that's not a term that we just want to give away. It's not a term that you want to give away. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not saying in every single case that there may not be cases, and there are cases that you might want to agree to give that away, but for dang good reason. But you need to know that reason before you give away something so powerful. And if you're going to give it away, you need to be asking, what can I get in return? Remember, amendments, modifications, and reviews, put down the pen and pick up the phone. We can't just go signing these documents. Some of them are just brutal. and can literally cost you hundreds and hundreds of thousands, and no exaggeration, into the millions of dollars, depending upon location and acreage. So we can't just sign these documents. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure you join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. So I talk to my client, I explain everything to him and say, okay, here's what's going on, here's what's going on, this is what's going to change, and here's, potential impacts. And I say, you have an obligation here, the company does, that they have to drill 3 more wells at the end of this year. And if you're going to agree, there's a lot of different factors. Again, this is general. But there's a lot of different factors that come into play, and we talk about those. We identify those and we consider those, and we make sure that you know those, and you weigh them out and give them the appropriate weight they deserve to make your final decision. So we say, look, you have this obligation that they have to drill 3 wells. So, maybe if you grant this, maybe you can get some sort of compensation, whether it be cash payment, whether it be a royalty increase, whether, again, these are just things that you explore, a deduction, no deduction type language. Can you alter your royalty language as a possibility? What can you get in return for this? Because remember, the company's getting a lot. They want to act like you're getting the sun and the moon. Well, they're getting the sun, moon, stars, and everything else out there. So we want to find out what you can get. So maybe you can get an obligation, instead of drilling 3 wells, they drill 1 or 2. And maybe not by the end of 2019, but maybe by the end of 2020 or 2021. Some other way that you can protect yourself to encourage or require development to make sure that you're maximizing your situation. So we agree. They say, okay, let's, we want to do more. So we go on from there, and I start to communicate with the company. So the landman who works for the company. So we say, all right, I have these questions. So I submit a series of questions, and I submit them in writing and say, hey, I'd really love for you to answer these questions in writing so I can review the responses with my clients. Well, let me tell you something. I really encourage everybody to try to encourage or require the company to respond, or the landman to respond in writing. And you'll find that in my experience, I'll put it that way, there is a great resistance to respond in writing. Why? Because you have a record of what you said. I stood in an office one time, and I'll never forget this. And I have a lot of these never forget moments in my life. And I was sitting there with the guy I was standing. And the guy says, yep, you never put anything in writing that you can say over the phone or in person. And I said to myself, well, to me then, you're a con man. Because to me, I'm not afraid of putting something in writing. Because I'm not afraid of standing behind what I say or what I do. So the idea of, don't put it in writing. Why not put it in writing? Because you don't want to create a record. You don't want it to come back. If you're not telling the truth, if you're misleading somebody, you don't want that in writing, because always later you can say, you must have been confused. You must have misheard me. Try to get them to put in writing to explain how your royalties will be calculated under your lease. So when a company guy comes out, landman working for the company, says, this is a no deduction, royalty without deduction. Say this. Write this down. Back this up. Go listen tomorrow on the website. Say this. Say, sir, will you please send me an email indicating how my royalties will be calculated, and see what happens. And if they're sitting there telling you, well, there'll be no deductions, here's how your pricing is going to be. Why would they not then agree to put those same words that they just told you into written form and email those to you? Why? Well, you can answer that, but I'll speculate and say that I think it's because maybe what they've told you is not what's going to happen. Maybe. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe they can't type. I don't think that's the reason. They do not want to be on the record making statements which are not true or are misleading. So why else would you not put something in writing? I don't understand it. So I like to do that. I like to say, look, get me this in writing and I want to review it with my clients. And many times companies will, because they're dealing with a lawyer and they say, okay, we're going to have to respond to this. Sometimes it goes to company lawyers when you do that. But we want to have them in writing to explain things. And you ask the difficult questions. How are my royalties going to be calculated? Do you have the right to run this pipeline under my existing gas lease? Put that in writing and explain why and see if they do. So I, in this case, say, okay, well, I'm going to send out this email and I'm going to itemize in a list of things that I want to have explained and in writing. Well, not surprising to me, my phone rings. Hey, Doug, can we set up a meeting? Come down and I'll answer your questions for you. So you can't answer them in writing? Oh, well, I think it would make a lot more sense if I come down. Well, in this case, I say, okay, let's come on down. Let's talk about it. And I don't always do that. But this case, I said, okay, let's do this. Let's come on down. Let's talk. So person comes down. I have my list of questions that were sent. Let me just say the answers weren't there in the meeting. But we're talking. And here we go. This is going to be familiar to a lot of people. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark. So the landman shows me a map. Shows me a map where my clients have property located in a certain production unit. And shows me how that if this landowner signs and agrees to expand the unit maximum size of the unit under their lease from 640 to 1,200, the company says, this is what we're going to do. This is what the landman says. This is what we're going to do. This is what the company is going to do. So he pulls out this nice, fancy map, which ain't that fancy, but pulls out this map. And it shows the existing unit, shows some other units around the existing unit, and shows some non-unitized acreage in this area. And says, we're going to then put a well site in these non-unitized areas, and we're going to drill real long laterals into these much larger units that we're now going to create whenever we get permission from people to create these larger units. So, and how many times, so many listeners are going to know what I'm about to say, are going to have heard this so many times. But the person says, I say, oh, okay, well, and I know how this is going to go. I said, well, okay, is this map for me? Can I keep this map so I can talk to my clients about it? Oh, no. Oh, I can't give you a map. I can't give you a map. And this was great. I expected, so the person says, do you know why I can't give you the map? And I know my mind's racing with all the typical reasons. What's proprietary information, blah, 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 all these different reasons. He says, do you know why? I said, no, why? I'll lose my, wait. One reason. What's that reason? I will lose my job. Now, my opinion, the real reason, this is my opinion, the real reason, and every person has ever heard, oh, I can't give you that map. I can't give you that map. Here's my opinion of a guy who's heard that hundreds of times, probably hundreds of times. The reason why they don't or can't give you the map is because they have a directive, in my opinion, for you not to ever take possession of that map. And here's why. Because these what we're going to do plans are not certain by any way in the world. They're what may happen. And a whole bunch of other stuff may happen too, but this is something that may happen. And maybe they plan it, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they don't plan it. I don't know. I'd like to think that they plan it. But what I do know is they don't want you to have that map because if they sat there, now I don't know what every discussion that, the landman has with every single person, but if they say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, here's what we're going to do, you're going to be rich, this is how we're going to develop it, you're going to make all this money. And then you have this map, and later on, you sign your amendment and modification, or you sign your gas lease, whatever it may be, and then later on, this guy's gone, and years later, whether it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, nothing happened like was shown on that map. Not a dang thing happened like was shown on that map. Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing remotely close. And you say, you know what? That guy sat there and he told me this is what they were going to do. He showed me the map. He said all these things. Well, guess what? You don't have that map. And guess what? You have no record of that conversation other than maybe you took some notes. And then what's going to happen is if you try to complain or if you go into any type of litigation, or you say, hey, I got cheated. You told me this is royalty without deduction. You told me this is how it was going to be developed, all these different things, and none of it happened. Well, you can't go and pull out your map and show a court, show a jury, show the company, this is what you promised to do. Here's the map your guy showed me. Here's the time, and here's what he said to me. You have no map. You have no map. And yeah, I will lose my job if I show you that map. My opinion, yeah, because now there's evidence that if there's evidence you misled the person, that maybe even you flat out lied to them. And in some cases, there's arguments, and I'm not saying this, there's arguments, take the Chesapeake case and from the AG's office, arguments that you committed fraud by making fraudulent representations. And if I had that map, or if I had it in writing that you said there will be no deductions and this is the type of pricing you're going to get on royalties, now I got a strong case. But I'll tell you what, you tell me, anybody out there, call me now. Do you have an email from a landman or a company saying, yes, this market enhancement clause means that there will be no deductions taken. You'll receive your gas will be priced based upon a third-party transaction without deductions? No, because my opinion and my experience, they don't put that in writing. I wrote companies, internal, high-level people at companies, explain what this royalty calculation method means and how the royalty is going to be calculated. What happens? Ring, my phone rings. No email responses. No one wants to put it in writing. No, you can't keep the map because that's a written documentation of what the heck happened in this discussion and what I told you was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. So now you're left saying, well, I saw a map, but I wasn't allowed to keep it. Well, that's why you don't have a map. My opinion. Again, this is an opinion show. This is general information and opinion show. But boy, I really believe in that opinion. All right, I'm up against it. We went long again. I'm not done. There's more. So stay with me. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure, join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. And if you are given any agreement, multi-unit well, amendment, modification, ratification, gas lease, pipeline agreement, any agreement, put the pen down, give us a call, see if we can help. 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember to join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. And I'm telling you, I cannot encourage you enough. If you are presented with any oil and gas related agreement, if you think you have an issue, if you think your gas lease has been violated, if you think that deductions are being inappropriately taken, if you think that you've been improperly unitized, again, on and on and on, you name it, give us a call. Learn about reviews and consultations, which typically take 2 hours or less. And I want to stress time and time again, and I cannot and I do not say every single time, but I am telling you time and time again, those reviews and consultations ultimately lead to that landowner making tens of thousands and even more dollars on the agreement that they're presented with. Time and time again, the landowner finds out, hey, I don't have to agree to something the company's telling me I have to agree to. Time and time again, landowners find out, wow, I didn't know I had this leverage, which I actually have. And why don't you know it? Because the landman is not going to tell you that. Why? Because they work for the company, of course. So I really encourage you, regardless of your location, I do these in person and by telephone. I do them by telephone all the time. So regardless of your location, give us a call, find out more about this service and whether it will work for you. And in almost all cases, it will. Now, let me say too, and I just have to stress, because I deal with this each and every week at this point, these amendments and modifications, which we're talking about today, the multi-unit well consent documents, cross-unit wells. If you are presented with those documents, please put the pen down. Put the pen down. Put the pen down. Pick up the phone. Call me. Call somebody that knows what they're doing. But boy, put that pen down. Because you may be able to negotiate. And by signing that, you may be hurting yourself substantially. And I'll tell you this, if it is something that's going to benefit you, well, heck yeah, we want you to sign it, but we need to look at this and confirm this. And in almost, if not all of these cases, where I've had clients sign multi-unit well agreements, we have improved that process. We have improved the terms of the agreement. We have made it a more attractive agreement for you, the landowner, the royalty owner. So why? Why would you not? And again, I say this often, the worst thing that can happen is you fully understand what is being presented and you find out the worst thing that can happen. You find out this is the best you can do. You have your questions and your concerns answered and addressed, and you find out this is the best you can do. Or maybe you find out that, hey, despite what this landman has told you, this is all we'll ever pay, that actually they're paying more. And it actually, you can negotiate and you're almost certainly going to get more. You need to have that information, the information that I will give you. And I'm not somebody who knows what they're doing, who is working for you, whose sole goal is to help you. Sole goal, not partial goal. Not, well, I work for the company, I get paid by the company, but I'm really a landowner guy. No, I work for you and do the best I can to give you the best possible information. And let me tell you this, if I got a map, I'm going to share it with you. I'm not going to say, oh, well, I could lose my job. I don't know. What happens is, again, they don't want you to have the map because it can come back and bite them later. Because in almost every single case, almost if not every single case, those maps, they're not giving them to you because they may not do that. And that's why. They're just saying, oh, here's the rosy picture that we intend on doing, but the reality is they may never even come close to doing that, and they may do something totally different, or they may do nothing at all. And let me tell you, I deal with maps all the time that we actually attach to the final agreement to say, hey, company, we all agree this map is depicting and showing actually what you are going to do. Not what you're planning to do, but what you are required to do as part of this agreement that the landowner, royalty owner signs. That we attach it. That's a real map. When they sit there and they make up these maps that they bring to you and say, oh, I can't give this to you, can't give this to you. Why? Again, it's not, in my opinion, it's not proprietary reasons. That's not why. It's because there's a dang good chance, small chance, whatever that is, that they're not going to do what they're showing you. And they use that as a tool. Let me repeat that. That map is a tool in their, what I will call, bag of tricks. And listen, that's okay because we can identify it and we know that. But we're not going to let them use that tool against us because we've seen other people be tricked. Maybe we were tricked. But the reason why you won't give me this map, there's nothing magical. It's because you may not do what you're telling me you're going to do. And if you don't, and if I come back and I have a case or a claim against you later, you say, oh, well, I don't know. You misunderstood. And you have no map to point to. Well, he showed me a map. Well, where is this map? Where is the map? And guys, you've all, like many people, I say, oh, but my heavens, how many times, out there, how many times have you been shown a map and they act like it's the Holy Grail? Oh, here's the map, but we can't show it to you. We can't give it to you. I'll lose my job. I'll get fired. This map is so important. Ooh, it's so important. Well, they're not going to follow it maybe. And so the map really means nothing, but it is a tool to show you, to get you to sign. I at one point did a well site agreement. We negotiate to do the well site agreement, going to be on the client's property. It was all like, we got to get this done. We're going to drill next month. So we get it done. We enter into an agreement to allow the well site on the client's property. And literally, within a week, the company says, oh, no, we changed the plan. We're not going to put it there. So if they're changing plans when they're within 1 month of drilling on a property, what the heck do you think they're going to do when they're presenting you a map of something that they may or may not do in 5 years from now? Do you think it might change? Do you think maybe that's the reason they're not giving it to you? Because it's going to change. It may change, and they don't want it coming back to bite them. But boy, it's a good tool. It's a good tool to say, money, money, money. We're going to get you money, 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 money. Look at all these lines. Look at all these lines on the map. You're going to be rich. Oh, I wish I had this property. We have to learn from our mistakes and the mistakes of others. And again, maybe you want to sign this, and maybe it's right for you to sign it, but you know what? We need to identify whether it is right for you to do it, or whether it should be negotiated, whether it should be avoided, whether it should be changed. And that's why I preach these reviews and consultations, because I see it all the time. People sign bad agreements without the advice and counsel of somebody who is doing nothing but working for them and giving you the information you need by somebody who has the experience. So I repeat, give us a call, learn about reviews and consultations before you sign, amendments, ratifications, multi-unit wells, cross-unit wells. Put down the pen and pick up the phone, 570-307-0702. That's 570-307-0702. Ask about the service. I would love to talk to you. I'd love to talk to everybody before they sign to make sure that you have the information and make the right decision. And of course, keep listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'll be right back. We got one more segment. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can give me a call, 570-307-0702, 570-307-0702. Learn about reviews, consultations, other services, but pick up the phone and give us a call. Give us a call because we have to stop making these mistakes or repeating mistakes that other people have made. We have to stop doing that, and it's still occurring all the time. The purpose of today's show was to say, in a lot of ways, look, a landman, my experience, they have these tricks of the trade, if you will, different ways in which they attempt to use these tricks or tools to convince you that it's in your best interest to sign. And an example is a map. And remember, shiny objects, money, maps, future promises of riches. Look over here. Do not pay attention to the words in the documents. And today, as we sit here today, hot issues that this may, even if it sounds foreign to you today, try to save it in the back of your mind because it won't sound foreign to you in the future. Multi-unit wells, going from one unit to another by drilling one single well. If you're presented with a document, you need to have that reviewed before you sign it. Amendments and ratifications. I literally could say that all hour. Amendment ratifications. If you are given those documents, you need to call me or somebody. You need to call me or somebody. It is very, very possible that your lease, if they want to amend and ratify your lease, maybe has already expired. Or if you don't sign that, your lease will expire and you can negotiate a new lease. I get so concerned in Tioga County. What's going to happen is SWEPI, my opinion, they're going to start going out with these amendment and ratifications because they know they may have blown all kinds of leases out there by doing these single vertical wells, not connecting, or even horizontal, not connecting the pipelines, and going year after year after year. So alert, everybody out there. Geez, in Tioga County, if you're given an amendment and ratification, wow, throw the pen and pick up the phone. But boy, don't sign it, because I see it happening all across the state where companies use amendment and ratifications to cure and correct problems that they have from the past, which I just sat there last week in an argument in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania, my home county, by the way, sat there and listened to the lawyers one after another try to argue, well, these guys who are in their 80s signed an amendment and ratification, and therefore this whole case is over, it can't proceed. I sat there. Again, when you see these documents, you're seeing them in a vacuum. I've been in the courtroom listening to the gas company lawyers say, this landowner signed an amendment and ratification, and therefore they agreed that the lease was valid as of that date, and the fact that it may have terminated years before doesn't matter because they signed an amendment and ratification. Please, I hope that sinks in. Do not sign amendments and ratifications. Do not sign amendments and ratifications. Get help first. Get help first. You have to understand it, because my goal is to crush these leases that SWEPI and potentially others claim to hold based upon year after year of these shut-in payments. But I'll tell you this, you sign an amendment and ratification, all those arguments very well may be out the window, and I'll guarantee you this, they're going to tell you those arguments are out the window. They're going to argue that if you try to bring a claim. So stop signing, pick up the phone, amendments, ratifications, multi-unit wells, you name it. Stop signing, pick up the phone, give us a call, 570-307-0702, and do it before you sign. You need to be on high alert, guys. You need to be on high alert, especially in Tioga County if you get an amendment and ratification, but so much more than that. So, all right, I'm up against it here. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, stop signing bad agreements. The landman works for the company, not you, the landowner. Put down the pen, pick up the phone, give us a call, see if we can help you. 570-307-0702, and have a great week, everyone. See you next week.